Hello, Trap Talk listeners. I'm your host, Zach Nanni. I'm here with my co host, Richard Marshall Jr. It's
Well,
going to be a good day because normally it's me, Ricky, and a guest, but there's all kinds of people on the show today. I'm excited for this. This is a free for all, folks. Ricky, tell the folks what they can look forward to today.
listen, this isn't just a trap talk from the back fenced episode either. We've got Dead Pair podcast on here, Jason Rambo. And so welcome to the show, Jason.
What's up, Ricky?
And
What's up, Zach?
yep, and we got Cole Cushman from Gun and Trophy Insurance, and then we got Kelly Reisdorf, which is the current CEO of USA Shooting. So this is going to be an episode about USA Shooting and what we can look forward to. We got the Olympics coming up here in 2028, so we want to kind of get a bunch of info for everybody out there. We got basically 2 years to get rolling, but Cole from Gun and Trophy Insurance is the official insurance of USA Shooting. So we appreciate that from Cole because he's a big sponsor of us and Dead Pair Podcast.
I'm excited because it's been, I don't know, 2 or 3 years since we've been on Jason's podcast when we were actually down there
Yeah.
and he invited us down and we had way too much fun. There's a lot looser
That's why there's water tonight.
Yes, we're on the water today, but there's a lot looser regulations at the Dead Pair podcast than Trap Talk. So it was more of an uncensored kind of deal, and I had so much fun. So we're so glad to have him on the show, and he's a lot of inspiration for podcasting clay pigeon shooting across the world, and they've done such a great job, and we're so excited to have him here today. So if anybody listening to our show wants to jump over and listen to their show, I promise it's entertaining and it'll give you a very good time. But getting back on the topic, Kelly, we're so glad to have you here today. We're so glad to hear about the progress that you guys are making and how important shooting is for the communities. So tell us a little bit about your background story and how you got involved in Shooting USA.
Sure. So I'm glad you guys invited me on. I'm happy to be here and I love the story. So it's always fun to talk about it. I haven't done a ton of these since I've been heads down kind of working on the turnaround of the organization for the last 2 years, but I'm looking forward to doing kind of a lot more external stuff. So my background, I grew up in the Midwest. I was a Marine. I was an MP. Finished college in the process of that. And I thought I was going to be a Marine for life. And then God had other plans. I was thrown from a horse and broke a bunch of stuff and, kind of life changes, right? So I have worked in the defense and shooting sports industry for the last 25 plus years. I don't want to age myself too much, but, it's been like a long time. So, I left the corporate life about 3.5 years ago. I was with my last corporate job was with Honeywell, that became Alliant, that then became Vista. And as you all know, Vista doesn't exist anymore. It's kind of in pieces and all private. And so
Yep.
I left in that whole sort of breaking up all the pieces. And I've been on my own since then. So I do a couple things. I run a small boutique consulting firm that does like crisis for companies. Usually when everybody's in tears and everything's awful, you come to hire me. And then I sit on the board of that new SPAC, grabagun.com.
Okay.
That went public last July. So that's exciting. It's kind of the industry's first e-commerce firearms retailer. And then I run the shooting team. And I started in this role over USA Shooting about 2 years ago. And the team was kind of in a bad way. And I did not come from the Olympic movement, but I'm long time 2A shooting sports. I've kind of sort of told anybody who will listen, I'll for my whole life with, my 2 hands and 1 brain and with resources I have, I'll always do whatever I can to protect the shooting sports, to do what I can to put a moat around it. It's a huge part of my life. I now hunt and shoot with my kids. You guys were talking about hunting before we started. I used to have this huge hunting bucket list. And now I still have that, don't get me wrong. But now I love doing it with my kids and then getting to see it and help them through their eyes. And so it's so cool. So it's a huge part of my life. Always will be. I'm also a conservationist at heart. It kind of goes hand in hand with it. And so, where USA Shooting fits in with it is so interesting because it's sort of this part of the shooting sports that's small, but super important, filled with amazing, amazing stories. And also for, the people sort of in society that don't love the shooting sports, that might want to either harm it or see the market shrink or, close more ranges, all of those types of like headwinds. The shooting, the Olympic sports of, our para disciplines, rifle, pistol, and shotgun, they're sort of like, from a brand standpoint, you guys, the enemies to freedom, that, it's kind of a one of my phrases that I sort of how I view it. You can't find anything wrong with the Olympic shooting team, and so I feel like that's
Isn't it the third most winning team out of
it.
out of all of ours too?
It is. So it kind of bounces between the third, the fourth, and the fifth. If you go back to like 1896, you guys, I didn't bring PowerPoint slides and data.
That's okay. A lot of our listeners, they start getting in the slides and they pass out. So it's better you probably didn't. They'd be better off just looking and observing and learning today. We can post some slides later. But, that's very interesting, Cole, to bring that up is the amount of wins that it's actually brought medals to our country. That's huge.
Yeah, totally. We will have PowerPoint fun night some other time, but not today.
We're not here to learn, really. We're here to discuss. But yeah, no.
It's all good. No, but you guys, since 1896, our team has contributed around 5 to 6% of all Team USA medals for summer. It's really incredible. And that's something, our spend base is a fraction of some of what I call the big money sports. But that's something that makes me so proud. I mean, we're the only country in the world who has a Second Amendment, who has freedom over lawful firearms ownership. And it just makes me really proud. It kind of wraps it all into one. Very, very cool.
Now, quick question on shooting or USA shooting with the athletes for the shotgun sports. So you got trap and skeet. How many athletes are actually there now? Is there resident? I mean, because years ago when I did it back in the 80s and late 80s and into the early 90s, you had resident athletes, you had a junior team. And I know now there's a lot of different teams where you got like SCTP teams and such. Do you still have any resident athletes or no?
Not for shotgun. Shotgun for about, I want to say, I'm not 100% sure, but about 10 or 11 years. I'll have to check my facts on that, but it's been decentralized for a long time. And that is a little bit funding, but more so the Olympic movement as a whole. They are going away from being so like requiring athletes to be so geolocated in a certain area. They're really trying to have more flexible options for all sports to kind of meet Olympians, wherever they are. And so for our sport, we still have the indoor range for rifle and pistol at Colorado Springs.
Yep.
Fort Carson, which, I just went there for the first time in like last year and a half. We've been doing a ton. We've put money to basically, because it really hasn't been used for a long time, but you guys, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And so we basically, as of kind of late last fall, we redid the clubhouse. We've gutted and redone the whole thing, serviced all the machines, everything. It's totally back up and ready to go. And so we're hoping to use it quite a bit this year and all throughout the quad. It's open for holding events. We're looking at holding juniors camps there. It's really a very cool range. So
is it so now I know, so is the current like where's the home base for USA shooting? I know the Olympic Training Center is Colorado Springs, but I know Hillsdale has their training facility. Is that now the current shotgun location or is it just certain events are held there?
Just certain events. So they're definitely a valued partner. We try to hold our selection matches there. Sometimes calendars don't align. We've been rotating between Hillsdale, the Tucson range, and West Palm. I've been told that we probably can't hold selection. You guys will have to tell me from your experience that we probably won't hold a selection at Fort Carson because of like the altitude and some other things. I don't know, but
the targets can be, in my opinion, they're a little different from shooting at Fort Carson. Then also you got the AMU, the Army Marksmanship Unit, which is, Benning. I think they changed it back to Fort Benning now.
it's Fort,
What was it before?
I know, totally.
They changed it and then back to Benning. So, but you got like Will Hinton and them guys down there.
Mm-hmm.
The targets there are a little tougher to shoot.
They are. Yeah.
So I would always say you want to train where your targets are the hardest, I would think, going in to shoot World Cups and such. But yeah, I know Tucson, because Zach and I will be there next week. We have the Spring Grand Trap Shoot coming up in Tucson. And actually, a good friend of mine, he's passed away now, but Bill Martin and his wife, Leanne, she'll be there. But Bill's the one that put all the money in and put in the 5 bunkers at Tucson.
No way.
He was the funding behind that.
Yeah.
So Zach's known him his whole life, and I've actually known Bill since I was, I think, 17. I knew him, but he passed away last June or May. I think it was the end of May when he passed away in 25. But yeah, Bill was a big supporter of Tucson and the Olympic stuff. I mean, he loved it because everybody from different countries come over there, and we had, I think there was 2 World Cups I was at there. The first one they had, and then the second one. Then I never went back to any other ones they had. But I know you have Tucson, then you have Hillsdale. I haven't been to the West Palm one. Is that a pretty good facility?
It is. It's really nice. We have a great partnership also with the Florida Game and Fish. We'll be down there. We're having kind of a invitational sort of fundraiser shoot on the 17th. But it's a beautiful range, and Florida is very good to us, and it's a great partnership with the Game and Fish folks, which is super important. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, if you don't mind, guys, I'd like to ask her a question. So we had Kaylee Browning, and we also had Derek Mine on our show, who are past Olympians, and I think they're going for it again this year, or for this next Olympics. They've been through the process, but on your website, do you because I get asked this a lot, believe it or not, is there somewhere on there where someone that is, an aspiring individual that wants to try and, make the Olympics, is there the qualification process? Is there a breakdown on there, what they need to go, where they need to go, how they need to go about doing it?
Yes, but the way that it is currently, I just want to start with a qualifier and say that it could be a lot better. But I would say I'm going to plug USA Archery for a second and say how awesome their website is. That is goals for us. Within 2 clicks, you can, now granted, they don't have the amount of events that we do, but within 2 clicks, you can answer the question of how do I make the team. So how you make the team and kind of the pathway is very different for pistol, for rifle, for shotgun, trap, and skeet. And even I want to ask you guys that conversion from American to international. That's a big topic on my mind too with these grassroots organizations. And then for para. So we kind of have 4 very different answers across those disciplines. But yeah, on our website, you can go to athletes, you can look at our selection procedures, the qualification, the scores. We also, last year, we've implemented an MQS score. So depending on based on your event and where you might compete, you can see what scores you kind of need to be shooting at internationally to be eligible to go to a World Cup or a World Championship and things like that. And then we also, on our events page, we have our open, sort of when we do our open selections across the board. And those are great opportunities across, all the disciplines. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at it a little bit. And it is kind of difficult to find, because I get the same thing like Rambo said, he's had Kaylee and Derek and stuff on. And we've had Derek on multiple times on the podcast and such. And we actually had, we had Holguin, and who else do we have? Glenn Eller, Zach, I think, at the SHOT Show.
Josh Richmond.
Or Josh Richmond.
Oh, he's
we had,
so
Josh, I've known Josh since he was a little kid because he grew up shooting ATA. Yeah. So that's how long I've done that, aging myself. But yeah, I mean, you got, Rachel Tozer, which
she's
Zach
awesome
knows
too,
her really well. He went to college with her. So they're the
This is
same
like
age.
it's like such a
Yeah.
small world, you guys. Like, and these are all such cool people, you know?
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
would like to see it a little simpler because I get
Yeah.
asked all the time because I teach a ton of youth that are always like, hey, they inspire. What's your number one goal? They want to be an Olympian. And they
Yeah.
always, try to find stuff and parents will call and they're like, how do I do this? And I always tell them, well, call Derek or get hold of Josh or somebody that's
Yeah.
in it that
You
can
know,
give them some info.
it's so interesting that you say that. So I was at our fall Tucson selection match and just in October. And I talked with mostly trap parents, but that is the story that I heard over and over again was that it was kind of cumbersome on the website and like where, a lot of them had to find friends, go to local clubs to figure out, what's the collegiate pathway for shotgun? Where are the high school programs? What is this American trap business versus international? And I went back to my team and I was like, you guys, we really need to focus on just the content and simplifying our website structure to be a value add. And one thing I'd like to do, you guys, is actually I was thinking about hosting something at Colorado Springs, or maybe cool. We can just you can host our party, but I would really like to have the leaders of all of the grassroots shotgun programs together for like a day and a half summit. And I'm not trying to invent more work, but I want the chance to meet and get to know all of them to explain why I'm here, why I'm doing this, explain our strategy for LA. It's not just LA, you guys, it's Brisbane because we've got our kind of top national team members right now, but I'm like, who is going to make the Olympic team for Brisbane? What programs do we need to make now for that? And so I want us to be more integrated with all those grassroots programs, not to take away, compete. I have zero interest in competing for members, any of that. I want to talk about, so I did join the board of our, the International Federation.
ISSF.
Right. ISSF about 6 months after I took this job. And it is so eye-opening, you guys, to see the white space of so many of everyone else that we compete with internationally is primarily nation state funded, and ours is obviously a private model. These countries, their shooting sports markets are fully optimized. They have markets that are this big and they're leaving nothing on the table. We are the opposite. Our market is this big and we're leaving a ton on the table. And I fully, you guys know this, there's been USA Shooting Organizational, like I get it, but I'm kind of like, I want to really be a good partner. And I want to talk about how we, it's not just, from the time when a 12-year-old raises their hand and says, hey, mom, or hey, dad, that looks kind of fun. But then it's also being there when you've got, like the strongest kids in ATA that may be interested in learning international when they're ready for it. Like I want to talk through all those transitions and how we can all partner to meet these kids where they're at. That to me would be
I
the best
100%
thing.
agree with everything you're saying. And I think when I started shooting, it was 2004 and I was 13 at the time, and going through collegiate shooting and moving up the ranks of the ATA. At the time, there wasn't really a good system to get from ATA to international. And the biggest barrier a lot of the time was there wasn't a bunker around where I was in the part of the country. So I came from San Jose, California. The closest bunker was 6 hours away from me down south. I mean, I could drive down there to do that. So I think, the biggest barrier for a lot of people is one, finding a range to shoot the game. I mean, and we're talking trap, not skeet, but that's a huge barrier for us. And then two, all of the information that I got from it was from friends. So one of my really good friends, her name was Julia Stallings, and she shoots a lot of bunker around the country and did it. But she would be the person that would say, hey, this is where you go. This is what you do. And it was very much exactly like you said. If you didn't know the right people and you weren't in the clique and you didn't ask the right questions, it was like, where do I go? When do I get there? These kids are involved, but these kids aren't involved. And sometimes there's some really good shooters over here, but they never got a chance at it. And then there's some people that got a chance at it. And, and you can't really figure out the rhyme or the reason why. And it's like, this is really not putting best foot forward to give us an opportunity to maximize the most amount of medals, because there's a lot of really, really good quality shooters that have never even swung at the game. And that scares me.
What's the cost to shoot? I mean, the difference between traditional and trap, I mean, is something that, the different grands, to get a course set up there. I mean, it seems like a natural place to at least kind of consolidate some of the best shooters.
Well, I can speak a little bit for that. I know that setting up a bunker range is tenfold the cost of a trap or a skeet range. And, and credit to what Zach said, there's no discredit to the sport. There's a trap and skeet range on every street corner. A bunker is something Ricky helped me out here. Is there really like 10 good bunkers across the country?
I mean, there's more and more coming around. People are doing them. I mean, like Derek Mine just put in his own bunker. I think he's having a shoot coming up. But yeah, realistically, you've only got maybe 10, 12 locations that can have it, versus there's a trap field in every county, basically, and the cost, because I would say the cost to build a bunker, I know when they built the ones in Tucson, I knew the cost back then, but of course prices went up, but I'm going to guess it's going to cost you at minimum a couple $100,000 easily, so, and like Zach said too, I mean, he started in 04, I started in 88 or 87, started competing in 88, and then boom, went to the camps at the training center, like we talked about before we were recording, that Randy Moeller ran the NRA facility there, the training center, had these camps. And I thought that was the greatest thing, because it brought together all these kids that were ATA shooters and got, coaching and tutelage from, Lloyd Woodhouse.
Tom Garrigus,
Tom Garrigus was, one of them. And then later on, Brett Erickson, which was the coach of the Olympic team. And Brett's actually from Bennington, Nebraska, just up the road from me. And he was an Olympian also. So I don't see any of those camps or hear much about them anymore, except for every once in a while I'll hear about the SCTP stuff. I think side of it, I think they're doing some stuff. And Kinsey Duzen, who's on the I think she's on the team. So I did lessons with her in ATA trap.
You did?
She's from Ohio. So I did lessons with her, and then she won the Ohio handicap or something. Great girl. And she has done a ton of stuff with social media. I mean, she is Johnny on the spot, which that's what you need to do to be successful. You've got to get out there and get sponsors and such. But I would like to see some coming together of the organizations to promote and have these camps, because I think if you have these camps and you get 25 kids to come and you get 10%, 2 to 3 kids that rise the path, that's what we need, because the United States has the best shooters, hands down, in my opinion.
We do. And even just think about, I mean, we all know, I didn't live it, but you guys have, but the whole USA shooting history. Think about what we can do for the country if we really try, right? If we don't have all these problems and we're actually integrated and working together. You guys, that to me puts a lot of fire emojis in my belly and makes me very excited,
Yeah.
So
no, that is true.
I got like yesterday we were watching the Super Bowl, and I didn't have a dog in the fight in the Super Bowl, unfortunately, but I watched one of the commercials where it was all of the NBA players, and it was like versus the world, it said at the end of it. And I was watching this and I'm like, okay, this is the Olympics. It's an Olympic ad, USA versus the world, with all the NBA players. And I'm thinking, okay, you got LeBron, you got all these other guys that are amazing. And it's like, for the NBA, this is, they find the best and the best of the best, but for shooting, are they really finding the best of the best? Are we even attracting all of the opportunities that we could for this game? And unfortunately, I know there's some great shots, obviously, but there's just not a lot of people that get a swing at it. And I think, that, I guess, to help with the range clarification question, is there a way that ranges could partner with Shooting USA or say, hey, we want to put a bunker in, subsidize it? Or is there any help on that end? What does that look like for getting more ranges available to people?
I love that question, Zach. And we didn't script any of this, but that is a
No.
perfect question. It's like
Every
you
once in a while,
planted
Zach
it.
does something good.
Yeah. What is it? Every once in a while, blind
A
squirrel
Blind
finds a
squirrel
nut.
finds an acorn. You know, that's me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just over here with my eye patches finding nuts all day.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to imply you were blind.
It's okay.
But
They do it all enough, but you know what, Kelly? I usually hit the questions all right. Ask the listeners.
no, it's good. So, so we can be a resource for that, absolutely. So now we're not sitting on piles of money. We don't issue grants. However, as the national governing body, we will help with finding partners. And what we find a lot too with our high net worth donors and a lot of the industry organizations that are grant issuing foundations, they love matching programs. They want to see, so there's a couple in the works right now. I'm hoping that, I don't want to jinx them, but that we play a part in connecting with Midway or other grant issuing organizations that are very match friendly, to find maybe there's a component where it's the parents have a small portion of it plus local DNR or BLM resources partnered with Midway and another. There's a lot of those. And so we will do whatever we can to certify that range, to endorse those grant applications, to help keep the process moving and basically serve as an entity that can help get rid of roadblocks and things like that. So I wouldn't say we are just like writing checks like crazy for that, but we really want more places for kids to shoot. Even in Minnesota, we are the largest now. I think I haven't seen 2025 numbers, but for 2024, you guys, we're like triple, like the amount of kids in trap high school program is 3 times. We're the state of hockey. That's why I'm here, because my kids are in the hockey cult. We're trapped. But we have over 3 times the amount of kids in trap shooting leagues than even hockey players. Like,
What do you
this
got?
is incredible.
I think it's 15,000 high school kids or 20,000.
It's somewhere between like 14 and 15 and
Yeah.
change. And I haven't seen 2025 number
Yeah.
final yet, but that's like more than the whole state of Texas is. I mean, and so the media doesn't cover it here, which is another thing on my problems to deal with when I have time.
Yeah.
We won't go into that right now, but
Well, all we got to do is get a couple of those daycares shut down in Minnesota, and we can get some ranges out there. That's the secret. We got to work on that.
That was Kelly's other consulting job. Was
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
Daycare center.
Or maybe
that's what we
fundraise-
do, just
or maybe fundraising.
trap shooting center. So
Actually,
Just
fundraising
call
for
up
the
Uncle
Olympics,
Trump and say, hey, we need these hotels back for places to stay, and we're shooting out here now. We're doing it.
She's a great how-to
Yes.
video on how to
Yeah.
become a daycare center owner.
Yeah.
Just not on the USA shoot.
Oh, I knew Zach was going to go there.
it's impossible. I know. I said Minnesota, but it's all good. But
You
you
can't
guys,
leave
that
me
is
doors
so
open, or I'm going to close them every once in a while.
I
Get
know.
in there.
I walked into that one, but you guys, it is so cool to me that there's that many. I mean, this sport is really for everyone.
Yeah.
What in hockey, you have to start. I mean, all my kids started when they were like 3. That's just the way it is. In this sport, you can start at any age, any athletic ability, any body type, and you can actually have a home on a team, and you can be amazing. And it's so awesome to me. It's really for everybody. And so
Yeah.
I want for the industry to understand more. I mean, this is an example. Minnesota is a small example of sort of the untapped demand that we have, not just to like strengthen the pipeline, but you guys, the other half of me is just as motivated and excited. I want all those kids to keep shooting for life and be a part of like the family of the shooting sports, to use sort of touchy-feely language. But that's what I want, for all of us.
Yeah, no, it is great. And that's the one thing is you talk about Minnesota's youth program. I was up there one year back, and I think it was 2017 or 18. I came up to the Minnesota State High School shoot and was at the shoot for 5 days, and it was 1,000 kids each day, or 1,200 each day. And that at 10 days, there was 10,000
massive.
kids. Yeah, and I was like, wow.
I think it's up to like 12 or 13 days now,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, 'cause it's
literally 1,000 kids a day. It's
a
insane.
day. And it's
Yeah.
so it's by division and by, experience and how good they are is how they kind of think each team comes, competes against their deal that day or whatever. But see, I grew up in the Nebraska here in our youth program. So we're the longest running youth program of like 50, I think it's 55
Oh,
or 56 years.
I didn't know that.
And
Yeah.
we have about 22 to 2,500 kids a year because we're maxed out. It's a 2-day shoot. That's it. They won't extend it. It's only 2 days. It's you shoot singles on one day and handicap on the other. It's actually 3 days. And then the first day is junior high kids. So and
Okay.
those kids shoot 100 singles. But I know the Army team has been there and done some
Mm-hmm.
trick shooting and such. Richmond used to come because he was in charge of the trick
Yeah.
shooting and all that. And talk to some of the kids, and it kind of lit a little bit of fire under some of them. And then boom, it kind of went away. So that's why
Oh,
kind of getting back to talking about maybe these camps or just even some meetings or such to get to where we could do some camps, and we've got the ability with our podcast and Rambo does with his,
yeah.
get it out to the masses because everybody that listens to this podcast is a shooter. Or we do have some
Right.
that are non-shooters because their friends have been on the podcast, so they still listen. So, and we appreciate
Yeah.
that. But people love to watch the Olympics. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I do every year. I mean, I sit down and watch them and
Yeah.
such. So, but the shooting, you don't get to see much of it.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of censored at some level, right? I mean, it's anything to do with guns is not out there in the public's view. And I think
Yeah.
another area where all of these associations have room and opportunity to grow is in every other thing that we see and do across the country, whether it's golf or football or tennis or going to play top golf, there's signs, there's adage, there's commercials, there's
Right.
marketing to it. And then you have these sports where you won't see an ad anywhere that says, "Hey, go trap shoot," or go skeet shoot, or go sporting clay shoot. I mean, you won't see, other than a couple little niche podcasts and some people getting together and banding around trying to market it. Even the associations aren't always marketing their own material, which I find that fascinating because
Mm.
why wouldn't they want to find other people and go cross-sectional into the hunting market or into these other areas where you have people that enjoy shotgun sports, but now they're not pulling them over into these clay sports and vice versa. There should be more
Right.
cross-pollination than there is between a lot of these associations, and I think that's
Yeah.
Yeah,
the big goal.
shooting sports in the whole field of sports. We're kind of like the speakeasy of, the grand scheme of sports. But credit
True.
to the NSSF, they do have programs like their +1 program, where if you're a
Mm-hmm.
mentor and you're taking people out, they incentivize that, right? So they're,
Yeah.
credit to them for doing it. Kelly, if you don't mind, I wanted to ask. You mentioned Midway, and I'm assuming you're talking about Midway
Yeah.
USA.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
We've done a lot with them with the podcast, and it's amazing because they not only give grants to like youth teams and stuff, but for someone that's building a facility,
Yeah.
especially if it's for like USA Shooting or a
Mm-hmm.
youth program, they do have grants and funding for that. So, do you guys work with them like to try and match those grants? Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So they have outside of kind of what you consider traditional funding, and I don't work for Midway USA. I just, just to be
Great
clear,
organization.
but
Yeah.
but they do have kind of a whole series of buckets that support their, strategic pillars as to their reason for, existing. And they've got quite a bit of funds earmarked for standards and improvement in coaching, right? Coaching credentials, continuing education, which is super, super important. And I realize I do want to ask you guys about the American to International transitions. We'll get to that later, but I know it's your podcast and I shouldn't
you're
show up with
good.
questions, but I do. But
It's your
then
world. We're
also-
just living in it.
yeah. but then also for ranges, for range improvements, the building out of new ranges, infrastructure, they have a whole sort of investment program because they do realize that that's a scarce commodity and that is an absolute headwind to ongoing continued participation. And so they want to sort of be, I would say, anywhere and everywhere when it comes to range development, range improvement, things like that. So they're a great, great partner for that. So definitely.
Would
Yeah,
the
I love that, and I
ATA
think
be
that,
on board with any sort of bunker transition? I mean, it seems like it needs to be brought in at the ATA level for that.
I
in order
think
to-
so, Cole, and that's something that I mean we're going to have supposed to have the president of the ATA, Joe Sassano, on the show here coming up here shortly. So, and that's something that I will ask and ask the executive committee members. You know, Zach and I know all of them pretty well, and you know the executive director Lynn Gibson too, and that's something that we can throw at them and say, hey, we ought to look at something like this and try to, we want shooting sports to grow as a whole. It's not about, oh, trap's better than skeet or skeet's better than trap or sporting clays is better than this or international skeet or bunker, blah, blah, blah. It's clay target shooting as a whole. And I think if
it's
we're
people
all
that
on
love
the
the
same
community.
page.
It's so segmented right now that you got to blend some of these segments together a little bit and really to help it grow.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%, Cole. And it's funny because Ricky and Zach are on the trap side of things. When it comes to the sporting clay side, like that can never be an Olympics because the targets aren't regulated. However, the vast majority of people in sporting clays that really wish they could go to the Olympics, they automatically gravitate towards the bunker because that's about the closest you're going to get in discipline.
Yep.
And I just don't see there's not enough credit to Zach, what he said. There's not enough promotion. There's not enough advertising, and there's not enough knowledge. Even though we've had these bunker shooters, like Kaylee and Derek on our show that have explained the process, there's still, I think there's a lack of knowledge of what they got to do to try and make it, right? And I think somehow or another, like you said, Ricky, it's all clay target, right? We can argue in the locker room whose is the coolest, but
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, it's Kelly's here for USA Shooting, man. I mean, there's so much pride these guys and gals have to shoot for their country.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people have that motivation and they have that inspiration to do that. They just don't know how. And if they do know how, they don't know where to go to do it. So
yeah, and I think it's really, I would say, I've only kind of been in this space for 2 years, and it's on us to also be available and be there. And so I kind of mentioned bringing these groups together and kind of going through the vision. But, I've learned from some of our more tenured athletes that Lloyd Woodhouse back in the day used to actually go to all of the national championships for all the feeder systems. And he would have a check in hand, and he would offer a paid spot for 1 or 2 or 3 kids to go come and train at Colorado Springs. I mean, that kind of stuff changes lives.
Yep.
And so I want to, we can do that. I want to get back to being available, not taking away from those groups, but being a part of the journey and the pathway for these athletes.
Sometimes the
work
sport
together.
gives you a really special person that could have the opportunity to do that and to say, okay, there's a lot of good shotgun shooters, but there's maybe that 1 or 2 people that are special and they don't have the resources or the ability or the understanding that they have the gifts and the ability to do something like that. And, you open that door and you give them the opportunity and they jump through it and then boom, you've got something. But, how many people have came and went and lost their, their youth and not in their abilities because they never really pursued the opportunity. They didn't know it was available. That it just
They didn't
shake
have, like
out.
you said, Zach, they didn't have the funding themselves or their parents didn't to continue to shoot because it is more expensive to shoot bunker because of your travel and all that. But everybody wants to win a medal. When you growing up as a little kid, I remember watching the Olympics being like, man, this would be awesome if and you're the 1%er. Now, and that's where, like I said earlier, with our podcast and stuff, we have that ability to get this out to more people so we can maybe hopefully start or be a part of starting a feeder system to, come into it. But it is one thing that, a lot of people don't understand. So they just kind of brush it off. Unless you are the very few like, the Derek Mine. I mean, Derek Mine's one of the top all around,
Yeah.
shooting all the games.
He could
you
shoot
know,
anything.
gun pointer in the world.
He can shoot anything. Yeah, he's
Yeah. He
incredible.
He could shoot a broomstick. I mean, the guy's
Yeah.
got a lot of talent. And
Exactly.
you
Zach,
think about
Zach
it like
did beat him in the all-around shoot off of the Grand that year, though. I will give you credit, Zach.
we won't talk about that because I don't want that dog getting up off the ground. You just leave him be. Okay.
I
learned a long time ago.
Yeah.
You don't poke the bears. You just leave them go.
You know, but
Kelly,
it is-
go ahead,
Zach.
Ricky. Sorry.
No, I was just going to finish and just say, hey, it is one of those deals where I think we could start like a big roundtable discussion.
I would, if you guys would help me do that, I would love to do that.
Absolutely. I think it'd be awesome to get all of us and, you know, Jason there, you know, myself, Zach, and even these leaders and say, hey, because we're all shooters and we can get some sporting shooters there that want to shoot bunker, like a Derek Mine, you know, get even, you know, past shooters or current, you know, bunker shooters, Glenn Eller, you know, Will Hinton, Rachel, stuff that have experience in this. And even someone like, you know, Kinsey Duzin, who's coming up. And this girl, I see her all the time. She's striving to get better. And that's the future.
Very impressive too. Kinsey is. And so I would love welcome the help on that. And, you know, kind of like I said in the intro, I mean, it's obvious, like I didn't come from competitive shooting, but I know organizations and you guys know my why. And I'm not here for that, but I can offer so much else in terms of bringing these groups together and developing these pathways and partnerships. You know, I joke with Vinny sometimes. I'm like, Vinny, before we're all done with the LA Olympics, can you just help me hit one target? He's like, Kelly, I think we can do a little better than that. Exactly. So,
way better. Way better than that for sure.
Yeah, I know. But
Kelly, I know we've been asking a lot of questions, but I want to give you an opportunity to kind of kick stuff back at us, Kelly. You know, you said a few things that you wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
You know, what questions or direction do you want to go with this today? Because we're here, you know, instead of us asking and putting it in a direction, where do you want to go, and what would you like to share with the listeners?
Well, so I would say, well, the question for you guys first, and I've got lots of comments for the listeners too, and I want to talk about USA Shooting because I'm super proud of it and what we're doing. One thing I keep kind of asking around, trying to understand is, you know, why do we have American styles first and then go to international? I know, you cannot laugh or judge me. And this is live, so this is the gospel
we can
now,
edit.
and I'm admitting it. No, it's okay, it's all good. But why wouldn't we just start with one style? Why have the two?
Well,
or is that,
Ricky, you want to answer this?
Yeah, I can answer it. I mean, I shot a lot of bunker in those 4 or 5 years, and such, and ATA too. But the difference is bunker targets are faster. And now back when I shot them, we got to shoot the same shells. Now you're shooting 7/8 ounce, where in the ATA we're shooting 1 ounce and 1/8, or up to 1 ounce and 1/8 you can. So you're shooting a faster shell at bunker, but less BBs. Okay. So it is a harder game. So starting with that, people get discouraged when they can't hit targets. So I always said, and this is growing up when Lloyd Woodhouse was recruiting shooters to shoot, we had double trap back then. Okay. And that's why Kim Rohde shot double trap originally.
That's how she started. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then she went into skeet, of course. But, you know, and like Glenn Eller, I mean, he was one of the world's best double trap shooters, hands down. So, and they used to take the double trap shooters. So whoever shot ATA doubles really well, you got to go those camps. And that was me. Yeah. I was a very, very good doubles shooter. So they were like, yep, you're coming. And it was fun. And then it was like, just like Zach said, the range, it was 6 hours for me, 6.5, 7 to Colorado Springs was the closest range. So who can drive out there every week and shoot?
Yeah.
So that's the difference of why people aren't starting in that versus American.
It's, it would be very simpler to assimilate it to, you have, the golden tees or the ladies tees, the closer, easier, the mini putt. Like if you say American trap, they can build an American trap house. I mean, I've literally seen these things built out of logs and you could put one up for, 10 grand if you had to do it. But, you build a really nice trap, and that's, going to cost a lot less than a bunker. And you can have them all over the country, and they're easy to get into. And it's relatively easy to show someone how to hit one of these birds right off the bat and get addicted to it, because it's a simpler sport. Now, when you start adding the speed, the variation of angle,
the height,
and the height, and the lack of places to actually shoot the sport, it becomes more difficult. Right here in St. Louis alone, operating, there's only one bunker. It's Pacific Range, St. Louis Trap and Skeet. They have one bunker that's operating, okay, and that's in all of the whole St. Louis market. For trap ranges, there's within an hour, there's like 5 or 6. And so you can get to a trap range relatively quickly, easily, and shoot and join a bunch of new shooters that are doing it for fun. Where a bunker, you go out there the first time you ever handle a shotgun, and you're going to almost feel like you're making a fool of yourself, because it's like, this is really difficult, really fast paced, really, on another level. And I think that's why it's really important to get people, hitting the targets. And then once they get foundational, support, they say, okay, I can do this. Let's take them up to the next level of hard. Let's go, one step higher, one step higher,
camps.
and walk them up.
Yeah.
Because, if they can't hit American trap, they're not going to be bunker shooters. If you at least you need to be able to say, okay, I can hit these ones. And now, of the 100 people that are hitting American trap, maybe the top 2 or 3% that are really up there, those are the ones that are going to become the bunker shooters and the Derek Mines, the future killers of the world that hit everything. And I mean, if there was as many bunkers as there was trap ranges, then maybe, but there's not. There's only a few across the country, and they're generally scheduled to be open. Like, you have to call in advance and schedule it, and it's not just like an open to the public type of thing.
Yeah. The only one that's really not, Kelly, that you can go to any time that when they're open is Tucson Trap and Skeet.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. Or Cardinal. Yeah, Cardinal has theirs open too. And that's so between those, but Tucson, I mean, it's open usually every day. I think that they're open, that you can go down and shoot bunker, because they don't.
And I know that Livermore Trap and Skeet and Brian Weeks is doing the same now.
He's got
started
one
really
bunker.
opening it.
Yep.
He's got a bunker there, but they're leaving it open on public days, which, that's a big deal. And so there's a lot more shooters coming out of that part of the country now that are joining the game, because they have access to the game, right?
Yeah.
Where if you don't have access, you're not going to be able to do it.
Right. If you guys could change one thing, either add, change, or take away from, our Shotgun Juniors program, as you kind of see it from the outside looking, like, what's one thing that you would want to see different or change or add, or anything? Anything's fair game.
Go ahead, Zach. You go first.
I would think the one thing that I would add is I would give an opportunity or a shot to the top 3 to 5 best in the division in our area, and allow them the opportunity to go try it at some level, a trial camp or a trial area, or some kind of opportunity to say, okay, these guys are already excelled. They're already at the highest level of the sport. Let's see what they got. And let's see, with coaching staff and watching, is any of them have what it takes to cut it. And from there, an opportunity would open where, for me, I made it to the level where I was one of the top juniors, and nobody ever approached me to say, hey, do you want to try this? And I never got my shot. And
for 3 years, Zach was the #1 junior shooter in the world.
No kidding. Yeah.
In American trap.
Trap.
So
For sure. Yeah.
when you're doing, so I got to that level where I'm like, okay, I can do this, but I never got the opportunity. I never even got a chance to swing at it, because I didn't know the right people. I didn't have the right clicks. I just didn't do that. Right. So it's like, how many of those people are doing what we do, get to the high level and can win, but don't get a shot because they weren't asked, or an opportunity never presented itself. And I think there's a lot walking by because of that.
Yeah. I would say, Kelly, that I would go back to the camps like I participated in, the 1 week or 2 week camps. I know the 1 week camp, I think the kids got their entry fees covered and partial ammo, I think. I know the 2 week, everything was paid for. Your stay, everything at Colorado Springs, the whole works. You had the cafeteria, and such. But those camps, we got a lot of training. So Woodhouse was there, and Tom Garrigus, and there was a few other coaches I think that they brought in, but that is something that I think if you went back to something like that or got partnered, I know SCT, and I don't know the SCTP camps. I've heard about them, but I know no information and never got any information. And even some of my kids that I teach a big group, they've looked at it. Well, we're not so sure, but going back to something where you take the top sub juniors, which is up in the ATA, which is up to the age of 15. And then you take the juniors, which is up to the age of 18. And then junior golds, which is what, Zach, 23, I think now?
23.
23 is those three divisions, and just take the top 10 kids of each one. That's 30 kids.
Or at least invite them, right?
Invite them and say, hey,
at least give them an opportunity.
Give it a shot. It's, we're going to cover, if it's a week, maybe have them charge or pay a little bit out of their pocket, whatever it might be, but have them come and have them work with people, and say, hey, and see kind of what they're, and you can even have, ATA coaches there. You could have, the bunker coaches and such, people like Derek Mine, Glenn Al, ask these people, Rachel,
they do it. And, it doesn't have to be free, because you have to realize in our
have
sport,
some skin in the game.
There's nothing free. So all of these people that are already shooting at the top level, they're already paying to travel and hotels and all that other stuff. Right. So even if it was just like, hey, the camp fee is $500 or $1,000 or whatever it is one time, and they get good value for it, you'll have people sign up. I mean, if the hotel's free or the food's free or the targets are free, and you just got to get your plane ticket here to come and try it out, and that's what it is, well, then that's what it is. But it's not like these people aren't already traveling and shooting. They are. No. So they're used to having some skin in the game. And I think having some skin in the game is a valuable concept for all young people to learn.
And I think the biggest complaint I have is communication.
Yeah.
You take the FATP Nationals, and it's arguably the largest clay target shoot in the world, right? I mean, you got 3,500 kids competing across a week and a half. They're going to fire over 1 million rounds. All the moms and dads. I mean, it's huge, right? The communication from, hey, when you're done with this, you can go to the NSCA, the sporting clay side. I don't know how it is for you guys on ATA. That communication, a lot of these kids are seniors in high school getting ready to go to college. They don't even know the NSCA exists. And then I come to find out when I dig a little deeper, it's 10 times worse when it comes to bunker and the Olympics. And there's no communication there. And it's like, why are we not, and I've complained to the NSCA about this. Why are we not at this organization, at these national championships, at these regional qualifiers, telling these kids that, look, you're not done when you get to senior level. If you want to continue doing this, there's collegiate programs. And then outside of that, we have a whole professional organization you can go compete in. And like I said, when I dug a little deeper, I found out it's even worse for bunker. And I speak for skeet, and I don't know on trap, but I don't know anything about the skeet side either. But a lot of these kids are amazed. It's like, wait a minute, you're going to go shoot a tournament this weekend? It's like, you got to be kidding me. You've been competing in SCTP for 5 years. Never even knew this organization existed.
I think, Jason, talking about that with that SCTP and stuff, and I think there's some clashing, going on there, and I hope we can work that out, because I was a college coach, Kelly, for 10 years, started a team, did all that, and I had kids that would come that never even knew sporting clays. And I'm like, I shot this little small deal, and it was a 4-H. We shot trap only or what, and such. And I just got back this whole week, which is Zach's alma mater. I was teaching the Lindenwood shotgun sports team, which is, hands down the number one, 18-time national collegiate champion team. I taught them all week. And I worked with Rocky Romo, who's the current world 12-gauge skeet champion.
Yeah.
And shooting trap with Rocky. And it was funny because it's 20 degrees out and blowing, and Rocky's wearing shorts, and he's from California. So, but talking to these kids.
We don't have to get into that, but most skeet shooters, they're kind of like that. They're a little different. So,
only Zach but it's a weird deal. I'm talking to a lot of these kids, and no one ever mentions anything on the Olympics. And it kind of like breaks my heart because when I was a kid shooting, that's what, you know, and I did it, and I was behind, you know, Josh Lakatos won the silver, and then Lance Bade won the bronze. That's who I shot with and against. And Steve Poles and Rocco Berra and Chris Kiernan, all these, they shot all the World Cups and stuff. And like currently, I know Bade was doing some coaching and stuff, and he is a wealth of knowledge on the international side, you know, for sure. And it's one of those deals that I think if we can get all that together, I think we could grow this. Because like I said, we got the Olympics coming up in 2028 right in LA, you know. So
and
I think it's going to be awesome.
I do too, and I agree that I feel like with a lot of these the development programs, the Olympics isn't front and center, you know, and it doesn't have to be for everybody. It's not for everybody, but I do want all kids to know about it, right? And that it's there and we're here. And it's also, I mean, that's where our talent's going to come from for Brisbane. It starts now, you guys. And so
they have to dream about it. They have to think about it. They have to have an opportunity in their mind to say, I can get here. Like with anything else, it starts in the mind. I mean, you write it down, you have a goal, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I mean, you have to have dreamers to make the team. If you don't have those dreamers and those workers, then you're going to kind of run out of that bench eventually, because there's some guys on there that are solid, but they're lifelong. You know, they kind of got in there and they've been in there for a while, and now it's like, okay, how do you restock the pond if there's not enough new talent that's not swinging for the fences?
Well, Glenn Eller,
what's the selection process now, Kelly? I mean, if you know, how does someone get on the team to start?
Yeah, so we have kind of 2 selections a year. It's not exactly every 6 months, but it's generally we're kind of picking a new national team twice a year. And you know, everybody, you know, starts from 0. So you know, you can have, you know, Vinnie Hancock has to earn the same number of points that like an upcoming hot shit junior would too. I mean, that's what is very challenging and punishing for our elite athletes. But I also think it actually makes us so much better. I know it's grueling and I know it's stressful, but you know, it also means that's a spot that a junior could take, you know, depending on how they did, and they could, you know, go to earn a spot at Lonato, you know, things like that. Like that's huge. So we're kind of rolling every 6 months, generally speaking. And what we haven't done though is we haven't published the entire detailed qualification to make the Olympic team, but we're trying to publish all of these earlier than later. So
well, it's hard because, you know, you set this expectation as it's this, and this, and then you're like, okay, do we not send Vinnie Hancock, who's won like 16 medals in a row? If he messed up the one day, like, do you not send Vinnie, who's gonna win and who's Mr. Iceman under pressure? You know, so I think there's got to be some of that in it too, because you've got to earn it, but then even earning it that day, I mean, that Olympic pressure is a whole other deal. So. You know, I don't have the answer for it. I'm not going to jump on that grenade and try to fix that problem, because I can see both sides of it.
And you know, our national team members, you know, if any of them watch this, they're going to be laughing because there's all, you know, it's sort of like this is not USA shooting is not for sissies, and quite frankly, neither is the Olympics. And you know, we're dealing with these amazing. And in super, these are the world's most competitive people, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so but I love all of it, the fight, all of it, because it's one of the reasons why our country is so feared and why we dominate in shotgun internationally, right? I mean, there's kind of this vibe. It's just awesome. And so I want to take all these pieces of what makes us so awesome now, and we need to keep building that for Brisbane and beyond, you know?
Well,
so, yeah.
Because your team, I mean, like, you know, you got Vinny and Skeet and Kim Rohde and Skeet that's dominated the women's, you know, and such. And that's one of the things.
And Sam Simonton's coming up. I mean, she is a killer. I mean, they're all, my God, you know, the joke on these international trips is that men around the world don't even want to go anywhere near competing against our women's skeet athletes, you know? I mean,
of these. You got, you know, Vizia, and then you've got,
Danya,
Caitlin
yeah.
or Kaylee,
Yeah.
excuse me, Browning. She just
Kaylee
won
Browning, yeah.
something, didn't she? In
She did, and she went, she had a perfect finals round too. So
yeah,
it was pretty
yeah,
amazing at the Abu Dhabi Grand
yeah,
Prix. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
So, and that's
amazing.
one of the things it's cool because Kaylee's been shooting a long time, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and such, and you got all these up and coming people that they've literally chose that path and said, hey, I'm going to spend time, because I was looking, like I've known Glenn Eller a long time, and I just looked it up on there. Glenn was 18 when he won a medal, the gold, in 2000. So
Yeah.
26 years. That's a long time,
Yeah.
to be
But that's what's
competing.
Well, and that's what's so cool. That's one of the things. There's a lot of things that make us unique, but that's one of the sports that makes us really unique in the Olympic ecosystem is the longevity. Like with gymnastics, 4 years and you're out. And,
Mhm.
like Glenn has had an amazing career. He's definitely hitting it hard on the gun right now. And I mean, he's got a really decent shot at not only making the Olympic team, but medaling in LA. Sorry, Glenn, I don't want to put pressure on you. I apologize for saying that. But
She
Hey,
is
put a little
okay.
pressure
Well,
on him. He
Will
can handle
Hinton
it. He ain't
too. I
scared.
mean, Will's
Will
been shooting
Hinton, I
good.
mean,
Derek,
so many.
yeah,
And
it's
Derek, I mean,
crazy.
they're incredible. And so a lot of these foreign teams, they want to understand, what makes us so great, what makes us so strong. Like they're looking for like the secret sauce or like, I mean, I hate to say bribes, but they all want to understand, like how do we do it? Because they know that our budget is a fraction of what other nations, a fraction. And so it makes no sense to them why our results are, a multiple
Yeah,
greater. I mean, we're talking not
Because
just
these
margin.
guys pick it up and they carry it themselves. I mean, a lot of these guys. I mean, the names that you've mentioned. I mean, they've got access to ranges. They've built ranges.
They
They
do.
train this stuff every day. In addition,
well, and they
I
shoot
mean,
for the
so
Army team too, the AMU Army
They do.
Marksmanship, and they're shooting every day in the
and that's the
military.
only way that
So
you would have a chance to beat these guys from Italy that wake up every morning, they have an espresso, they go out and they shoot, they come back, they have a sandwich, they shoot again. I mean that's the way. If you're
Yeah.
going to do that and you're going to represent your country and that's what you're going to do. If you're an Olympian skier, I mean that's pretty much what you do for 4 years. You train
Yeah.
skiing, you train whatever it is you're doing, you train that and you do that, and that's your
Yeah.
job to go win this thing, right?
well,
So
and it's one thing, Zach. When I was at the first World Cup at Tucson that they hosted, and I was sitting there, Bill Martin wanted me to come down, and so I was down there with Jay Beeman and Janessa Beeman, who Janessa was on the developmental team, and she was on the junior team. She
Oh,
actually won the Junior World Championships, and that same year she was second on the ATA Women's All American team, and so we're there, and I'm talking to some athletes from Russia. And we're
yeah.
chatting, and I was like, and they asked me, "Oh, you shoot?" No, I don't shoot this anymore. I shoot ATA, and they were stating that it was a husband and wife. They both shot, and I think they might have been from Croatia or something. But anyways, they were paid, and their house was paid for.
Yeah.
All they did is shoot, and the country paid them every day.
Yep.
They got up, they shot every day, and that's what they did. And I was like, oh, and they said, yeah, we don't understand how the team,
How you could do it.
USA, beats us all the time
Yeah.
when they're not paid and they only
I know.
shoot, blah, blah, blah.
that's
And I
because
said,
we're
"No."
built on this country's built on bootleggers, a bunch of people that are hungry and trying to make it and going to shoot and make it happen, where it's like, okay, everywhere else, oh, you just shoot and this is what you do. Well, a lot of the people here, they're making their bread with that shotgun. I mean, you
Yep.
got guys
Yeah.
like Ricky that have hardened themselves like nails because if they don't shoot, they don't eat. And it's like, okay, well, that's
And
a
I'm
whole
a big
different
guy,
deal.
so I
right?
like to eat.
Yeah, he eats. So he's been shooting good his whole life. So you look at that and you're like, okay, these guys have so much more skin in the game,
Oh.
right? And when you got that skin in the game, it makes you really gristly. It makes it's grit,
It really does. And it's grit. And, this is what I tell our board and, other folks that are kind of in our ecosystem is I'm going to pull the Patriot card is that you also cannot put a price tag on like living with freedom every day, with the Second Amendment, with
Yep.
having access to just everything that we do. That is
Yeah.
grit, you guys, that you cannot buy. You cannot buy it. You cannot teach it and I see it in all of our athletes, and it just makes me like, I'm so happy. I'm so proud to be an American, you know?
I think you're right, Kelly. This roundtable discussion needs to happen because,
Yeah.
you know, Joe Bartozzi, the president of NSSF, was on our show, and
Love
he was talking
him,
about
yeah.
the survey results, and 23.4 million people broke our target in 2024, clay target, whether that was a backyard trap or competition, but 23.4 million people. There's only 30,000 active members in the NSCA. I don't know what there is in the ATA, but
about 60 maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So, but again, if you added the two organizations together, that's a fraction of the people that make clay targets. And I think the communication to let them know that not only these different disciplines and the organizations are available, but USA Shooting is available. You know, I mean, I remember watching the last Olympics. We were watching Derek Mine, my uncle and I were watching on TV, and he's like, "How do you even get into that?" I mean, like, people don't know; they have no clue. You know,
zero clue.
Well, we can let them know by our podcast, and we do, Kelly. We do have cameras, so we can travel to the LA Olympics if you need us there. I mean, that won't be a problem.
I'll be there.
I love it. I love it. No, I mean, and so, you know, it's exciting. You know, I've got a bias for the future of the shooting sports and for integrating the white. I mean, because I don't want the white space to be sitting on the table anymore. And so part of it is winning medals for Team USA. But I'm not going to lie. Part of it's taking medals from China. You know, I mean, we haven't talked about the other sports so much, but you know, that feels kind of good with some of these competitors in certain areas, you know, the precision
take it away from them.
Yeah. So, but you know, we want to form the coalition of the willing. And so for those, what I would say to kind of your listeners is, especially for, you know, on the grassroots side and the parents and the people that are making these organizations happen, that, you know, USA Shooting is on a really strong foot. We don't want to compete with any of those organizations. And, you know, we want to be a part of the solution to have a stronger pipeline and a stronger shooting sports. And so I want to work with all of them to do that. And well, I mean, we're already amazing as a country for this. We can be even better, you guys, if we actually try intentionally.
Yeah, 100% could be better. And I think for people listening to the show, you know, they have to step up and bring their chips to the table too, because there are people out there that have done really well in life and are connected really well. And if there's people that can connect various associations to various people and being able to say, hey, we're creating endowments, we're setting up money, we're doing this, because in this country, a lot of the times it's not government funded, it's private funded. I mean, a lot of the cool stuff that we're doing in this country is a bunch of people that are saying, we're sick and tired of it. We're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to do this. And so, you know, especially you spoke on the Potter Fields earlier at Midway, and you know, they're people that have said we're going to support shooting sports, period. And they've put their money where their mouth is, and that you know, that's huge. And I think there's so many people that love the sport and they take from the sport, but then when they get to a point to where they've done really well in their life, they don't always give back. And I never understood that, because you have to replenish the coffers. You know, you have to go back and say, hey, what can we give to the next generation? How can we keep this thing going? It's been great for me in my life, but how could we give back to the next generation?
And that's well said, Zach. And if you think about the premise of our two podcasts, that's exactly what we're trying to do. And I hope that the people that are listening to this are not thinking that it needs to all fall on our backs, meaning Trap Talk and Dead Pair, right? I hope everybody that's listening to this, that's even the least little bit inspired by it, puts their money where their mouth is, like you said. And look, I've got a direct line to Eric Trump. Don't think I'm not sending him this episode. Like, dude, you need to listen on your flight over to wherever you're going next, because it takes everybody. And, you know, from the bottom to the top, I completely agree. And I hope this inspires more people to get involved. I think that's what it's going to take. It's not going to take one or two. It takes a village, as they say, right, Ricky?
Yeah. Well, it does. And that's the one thing. And that's why, you know, like Cole Cushman, you know, with gun and trophy insurance, I mean, Cole is a huge supporter of all shooting sports. And just like, you know, Jason and I were talking earlier, you know, everybody that's listening to this episode owns a gun. Yeah. So I don't know
There's
if you
400
don't have it
million guns in this
insured.
country, and half of households have one. And it's not just I'm only a precision rifle shooter. It's not just I'm only trap or sporting clays. I mean, there's a blend, and it's breaking that wall, so to speak, on a lot of it. I think Kelly's great person for this organization to really make some of that happen.
Absolutely. And Cole, it's one of those things where I wish you guys were around when I was a kid, because you don't even know how scared I was, because everything I had was in that shotgun at the time, and I could not replace it. It was one of those things where if I could have connected with you as a junior, I wouldn't have, had PTSD. I mean, I was practically sleeping with that gun under my bed.
He's not lying, Kelly.
Because you there's so many stories of people like their cars get broke into, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, I did not have the resources to replace it. My gun was like my life to me. And I would have, like, if somebody was trying to rob me for my gun, I'd be like, yeah, you're not getting this gun. Like, one of us is going to die, but the gun's not going anywhere.
You could take my girlfriend, but you're not taking my gun.
Yeah. And so, that just being able to protect shooters that are traveling and going around the country and have the peace of mind of saying, this $25,000 gun that I can't replace, that's one less thing to worry about. And, that's, I know this wasn't the topic of our show, but it just brings it up, and it shows that you're there to help and support.
Well, yeah.
And it also shows that you give back a lot.
Goes back to, we're the only insurance book without a convicted felon in it. And it goes back to who is a gun owner in the first place, who is a shooter. I mean, you're dealing with, some of the best people from an insurance standpoint, let alone, just the way ethically they live their lives. So,
Well, and Cole, you just talked about that, but Zach was talking about scared of his gun and all that. In 23, Zach and I went over to Fujairah, to Dubai, UAE, to shoot, and they take your guns and they bring them to the shooting range from Dubai to Fujairah. And Zach stayed up all night. He was scared. And I said, you have it insured, right? Well, yeah. And I said, well, then whatever. And he's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to bed. And I fell asleep. I literally woke up like 4 hours later, and Zach goes, our guns are on the move. They're on the way.
Yeah, I had an Apple tag stuffed in my case, so I just watched that thing like I'm all like, "Where's my gun at?" It's my baby. But that's my shameless plug to Apple. I always throw those Apple tags in all of my cases so that I can kind of track them around and know where stuff's at. But
it is interesting though. So Cole, and you can explain this to people real quick, but traveling overseas, shipping your gun, all that, it's all covered with Gun and Trophy, correct?
Yes, sir. It's all covered.
See, and that's where people don't understand. They go, oh no, I'm shipping this. And I said, guys, it's on that airplane. You do not need to take out extra insurance. You're just throwing money up in the air,
Yeah.
Well, and listen, it's
insurance
not
is peace of mind at the end of the day. I mean, it's usually never access, but it gives you a peace of mind. That's what it's there for.
Well, it's not just a shameless plug, and we're definitely not trying to sound like a commercial, but Cole's the one that brought all of us together for this with Kelly. And
absolutely.
Yeah, he did.
The other side of this too is, I don't care if you're a competitive shooter, if you have a $200 concealed carry pistol, or if you got a $200,000 shotgun. Why are you going to rely on your homeowner's insurance to argue with you if something happens? I mean, if like you said, if you're listening to this show, you're either a competitive shooter, a hunter, or you own a firearm.
Yep.
Why are you? I mean, look, this is a specialty insurance for a special market, and if you own a firearm, and sorry, Cole, I'm not trying to kiss your butt, but if you
Gun and Trophy,
you're absolutely ludicrous if you're not covered by Gun and Trophy. I mean, that's what this company.
Well, the whole conversation got started because we talked about people that are giving back, and I think that's why we got brought to Cole, is because when we asked him to say, "Hey, we're going to do this shootout, or we need this, or we need that," it's always whatever you guys need. And so, they're the people that are coming back and saying, what can we do to give back to the sport to keep it rolling, so that when we do back fence, the bags that are sponsored, they're top notch. I mean, the competitors love them, and it becomes something that they really cherish and keep in their house for generations. And that's huge. So, thank you, Cole, for getting us together today, because we didn't even, I didn't even know who Kelly was before today. And that goes back to communication, right? Like, we're in the trap shooting community. We don't know Kelly. And now we do. And now there's
I did
there's
because
a
of
door
Cole, and that was Cole said we were on the hunt, and Cole's like, "Hey, I got an idea." Jason and I were like, "Okay."
Everything good we ever did was started with we got an idea. I mean, that just kind of rolls it.
You meet a lot of awesome people.
Yeah.
You really do. And some great minds, just a matter of putting them all together and trying to make something happen.
Well, Kelly, we could go ahead, Jason. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just going to say, and I didn't mean to speak over you, Zach, and I'm definitely not going to speak for them, but I know where their heart is. I know they're going to agree with me. Anything we can do to help. If you want to put together a round table, if we need to get you back on for another episode down the road, more than happy to help. I know I'm a Sporting Clay podcast, they're a trap podcast, but I think they'll agree that we both have people that are genuinely interested in helping USA shooting. And
I love it.
You got my support.
That's awesome.
100%,
I love it.
Kelly. I guess before we get out of here today, is there anything else you'd like to let the listeners know? Is there any other questions that you wanted to ask back to us that we didn't cover today? Because I know we had a lot of ground that we covered, and it was a lot of great material, and we can definitely have you on again. But is there anything today before we wrap up?
I think so. I guess what I'll say is, obviously, I would encourage everybody to follow us on socials. We're pretty active on Instagram and Facebook. Follow our events. Reach out to us. We want to hear. And if you feel feel compelled, then become a member. That would be amazing. But also, we're really focused on LA. And so we have our first quota this is a whole separate discussion for another time, but at some point we should talk about kind of all the things that we're doing to prep for LA with the venue, with the IOC, with ISSF. It sounds like I have a little advisory council though at my ready here. This is what I'm hearing. And, we are always looking for more ideas for how to make this more TV viewer friendly as well. That's a huge topic that we're working on right now, all this calendar year with ISSF and IOC. We had a huge ratings boost with, the Korean Monaco girl from Paris and Yusuf, the pistol shooter. But even for shotgun, we're always looking for ways, and our country is in a really interesting spot to be able to influence how we present on TV for the Olympics, even as soon as LA, not just Brisbane. And so we want help from the community to do that. We want feedback. We can't promise we'll always agree, but we love all the feedback and opinions. Always, 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 always. And I know you shotgunners are very extroverted and not shy. I've learned this.
No, come on.
Holy. It's like,
you got four guys on here that are like a dog with two bones, so you ain't gonna worry about that. We'll get in that dish real quick. Don't you worry, Kelly.
But and then we've got the quota opportunities in 2027, and then early 28 we'll have a big test event. LA Clays is the venue for shotguns, so they're getting ready for that. We're going to have a temporary venue for rifle and pistol at the Long Beach Convention Center, and so we're going to have. I would like ideas kind of from the community on how we can incorporate, if it's possible with the event at LA Clays, to have a open side of it, as well as, a test event for Olympic selection, things like how can we involve the community more, the broader. I mean, this is a once in a generational opportunity that we get to host this. And so, I want us just to put our best foot forward at every turn through LA.
I think that's a wonderful idea, because you think about it. I mean, how many opportunities do all the people in this country get to have this Olympic sport here that we can, witness at some level and be involved? And there's some really passionate shotgun shooters that are going to want to be involved. I think if there's any listeners today that listen to this episode, got inspiration, have some thoughts, ideas, go ahead and email us. Our email. John will put the link up here, down there. I'm sure you can email them to Rambo's podcast also, because, if we give us the information, we'll kick it back. I'm sure we'd love to have Kelly on again before 2028. Absolutely. And just say, hey, how does this selection process work? Let's do a whole episode where, we can just have a table of like, where do they start? What are they doing? What do we need to get accomplished here? So we can get some people excited, because who knows? There might be people that have an opportunity at 2028 that didn't have an opportunity before they listened to this. So, that would be really cool if there's some competitors out there that want to take that leap and jump for it. So
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
really excited that we had you on the show today, Kelly.
Yeah.
And Cole, thank you again for the introduction. And Rambo, it's always a pleasure to have
That's
you
right,
here,
baby.
dog. I mean, whenever we want to go after hours, trap talk after dark, we call Jason and we can get that done in a hurry.
Well,
So
listen, Ricky told me that you guys are coming down here to the Silver Dollar, and I'm
Yep.
thinking I'm going to go over there and try to poke at these going away targets with you guys that weekend. So bring the cameras, man. I think I got a couple ideas while we were doing this. Maybe we can come up with another good episode. So
we
Absolutely.
always like to have fun, Jason. You know that.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
so we'll
absolutely.
we'll make something happen. For everyone listening, like, share, subscribe, send in your questions, wear your merchandise, invite a shooter to the range with you, bring them out, get them involved, have them join new associations, and get more involved and give back a little bit. So that was the purpose of today's show, and we really appreciate everyone that keeps us going and makes this fun for us. We're doing it for you guys, and we're enjoying the ride. So thank you very much, folks. Happy Friday, and we'll catch you next Friday.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, Zach.